On the surface, Buddhism and the Bible seem like they're from completely different worlds. But if you listen closely, then you can start to hear that some of these voices seem to sound the same. They echo each other, and maybe that's because they're both pointing to the same fundamental truth. Here's one example. In Ecclesiastes it says, "Better to enjoy what the eye sees than to wander after desire. For chasing desire is like chasing the wind." Now tell me that doesn't sound more like Buddhism than Christianity. The Buddha says that suffering arises because of our endless craving after desires and our hunger that cannot be satisfied. Not that it's wrong to have desires, it's just because these desires cannot be satisfied. Like it says in Ecclesiastes, you can run and you can run, but you will not catch the wind. So joy isn't found in the chase, it is found in the appreciation of what is here and now. But isn't it desire that weaves together this thing that we feel is me? Well, Paul says in the Bible, "Strip off the old self because there is neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, but all are one." The Buddha says, "Anatta, no self." Both voices are tearing at the mask we wear. The identifications, the names, the labels, the little stories that we think is who we are. And when the mask is removed, then what's left behind? It's just awareness. It is life. It is life itself looking out through countless sets of eyes, from behind my eyes, from behind your eyes. And if the self is an illusion, then what about our actions, about our deeds, the things that we do? Galatians says, "What you sow, you reap." The Psalms says, "The one who digs a pit for another will fall into it himself." Does this remind you of anything? The Buddha called it karma. It's not judgment or punishment, it's simply the rolling out of cause and effect. If you throw a stone into a pond, the ripples will circle out and will eventually return to the shore that you are standing on. And it's the same with anger. In Psalms it says, "Let go of rage." And the Buddha says, holding anger is like holding a hot coal in your hands. Both of these traditions are telling us the same thing, that forgiving is not an excuse, it is stopping the burning of our own hand. Paul says to walk by spirit, not by fleshly desire. The Buddha says, live mindfully, see clearly, and do not be dragged along by craving. These are two languages for the same way of being, not as a slave to impulse, but awake, alive, light-footed and free. And maybe a similar message again in Galatians. Those who belong to Christ crucify the passions of the flesh. Maybe this is a gruesome metaphor, meaning the same thing that the Buddha said. Put simply, that when craving ends, suffering ends. Different symbols, but both gestures point to the same truth, that when we let go of our craving, the chains fall away. Corinthians tells us, the one who sows sparingly will reap sparingly, and the one who gives abundantly will reap abundantly. Just like the Buddha placed generosity right at the top of the list of perfections, because when you cling, you shrink, and when you give, you expand, and life returns to you in kind. And then the big question, what about death? Paul writes, "To live is Christ, and to die is gain." He longs for release, to be free of this body and to return to Christ, but he chooses to remain in order to help others. This is strikingly similar to the concept of the bodhisattva in Buddhism. The bodhisattva is the one who stands at the gateway to nirvana and chooses to return home to help others as much as possible, to help every living sentient being. So in both traditions, the highest form of freedom is not escape, is not reaching heaven or nirvana. It is realizing that compassion is the most important thing, and returning again and again out of love. And that's why Jesus said, "Do not store treasures on earth, where moth and rust consume." It's like what the Buddha said, possessions are like chains that bind the mind. And what is impermanent cannot give security. True wealth is not what you own, but what you are free to let go of. And so across these two traditions, the same truths keep coming up again and again. That desire binds us, that anger poisons us, that generosity liberates us, and that what we cling to, the self, wealth, and even life itself, is already slipping through our fingers and we can't stop it. The Bible, the Buddha, two rivers flowing through different lands, but perhaps they draw their waters from the same underground spring. And perhaps the invitation, whether you call it the kingdom of heaven or nirvana, is simply this: to wake up, to let go, and to rest in the vastness that was here all along.